Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
And a wonderful morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And on this lovely day, we have a brilliant guest, and that is none other than Mr. Krishmal Wanasuriya. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, Faraz. Good to be here.
Attorney at law, and I'm not saying the rest, but he's also the Joint Secretary of the People's Intellectual Assembly. Now then, has the conscience of the People's Intellectual Assembly been aroused after this couple of weeks where we've seen a tremendous and significant departure from national procurement guidelines? I'm laughing because the departure from that guideline is so blatantly obvious, and I'm shocked that Minister Kiriella has, it seems to have eluded him. Has it? Have you been following?
Of course. And for us, I don't think it's only on this particular procurement, but several others. If you look down, see now, yesterday we had the Hambantota cases coming up in the Supreme Court, where whilst applications were pending, the government signed the contract. Yeah. Going from now, we know that there were two identified Chinese contractors by the ambassador who had come in for some meeting and said, well, between these two, you select one. Yeah. Now, this seems to be a very funny way of selecting or procuring services for the government, particularly where for us, as you remember, prior 2015 January, we were the very ones together with these ministers who are now taking these decisions. Yeah. Got on the road and said the way the previous regime were doing things were wrong. They were earmarking people, they were giving contracts, they were what? The roads are paved with gold, they said. Yeah. And we also followed suit and changed that regime to have a system, a transparent, accountable system of governance where procurement particularly. And let's not forget that we are a country that's fast developing. Infrastructure developments are massive all over the place. From the small scale infrastructure like apartment buildings that you have people, I don't know whether you or me, but private individuals get together, 4 or 5, say cricketers get together and put up an apartment. Yeah. From there going up to roads and massive projects, there is a lot of money changing hands. That is all the more reason why it must be transparent and accountable. And as you say, the national procurement guidelines have been stipulated for that. Yeah. We still don't even have the audit bills that were promised coming in.
That's right.
So we are not following procurement guidelines on one side. On the other side, we are not even having a proper audit done.
Yes, no national audit bill. And what about the National Procurement Commission?
Absolutely.
And remember, Krishmal, some months ago, some parts of the media disclosed that the FCID, that the IGP had directed FCID to send the all files to do with national procurement were to be handled by the National Procurement Commission. So
without a commission, how do you
exactly? So now that's gone there. It's somewhere in abeyance. Yeah. I'd like to know where these files are floating. You know,
they must be floating somewhere.
Maybe they're floating over the Rajagiriya flyover, and that's another story. Yeah? Maybe it's there.
No, but don't you feel that we are missing the plot?
Yes,
I mean, we all thought that, okay, we can't immediately, I don't expect in 2.5 years to have everything. Yeah. Follow. But at least things will fall into place. Yeah. That and also remember, we are discussing of people not without brains or mental capacity, no.
Absolutely.
Now we can imagine if, say, now the common consensus, I don't know how far it's true, but that some say percentage doesn't even have O-level. So we can imagine some uneducated man who has just come there on political whim or fancy, who has no knowledge doing these things, we can understand. But when ministers who are educated or purportedly educated, who have gone through a proper system of upbringing, who are supposed to be accountable.
Attorney at law.
I'm not discussing one particular individual. Okay, he's an attorney at law. Yeah. Several others know. Yeah. Doctors, professors, at least minimal A-level qualifications. When people like that who are supposed to know what is right and wrong. Forget qualifications. At least those who have been brought up in decent backgrounds where the parents ought to have told them what is right. Son, don't do it. This is wrong. Don't steal. Don't cheat. This is wrong.
Don't play with public money.
Don't play with public money. Yeah. You follow? I remember my old man used to work with the Ceylon Treasury for 13 odd years in the budget division. Yeah. And some time later when the government changed and he was transferred from public-private private bus department.
Yeah.
He came home and there was an envelope in his hand. Someone had tried to give him a bribe. And that was shocking him so much. He told his mother he didn't have dinner that day. And my mother told, you go back and give that man that money tomorrow. Don't bring. And he's saying, no, I didn't bring it. The man has stuffed it in the file. So he couldn't sleep that night because some 1,000, 2,000 rupee thing. Yeah. So to get some bus route. He said, I said, this man had put his envelope in this file. And until he went back the next day and gave that money back, his conscience was troubled.
Yes.
So, I mean, one must have that conscience now for us.
In that case, this members of this government will be suffering from sleep disorder, because if they won't be able to sleep ever, because their conscience will be so troubling them. But clearly, the fact that they sleep in air-conditioned comfort at the expense of you, the public, then it's even more shocking.
It's sad.
It's very, very sad. Now, tell me, Bondgate and the matters surrounding the issuance of treasury.
Which you and your station have been very meticulously following.
Well, yes.
All congratulations to you. If not for that, revelation sometime back, none of these may not even.
Well, yeah, we mustn't forget the little matter of the courageous journalist who managed to persuade the editor of the Sunday Times.
Absolutely.
And wrote that article. The name fails me. I really am sorry.
No, sometime back.
It was, yes.
How it all started.
It was in...
Now, interesting for us, I believe you're referring to this question of Bondgate and some people not giving evidence. And
That's right. There's still a lot of debate. Even I was in a talk the other day, and even that fellow was trying to say, he said, sir, me මොකද්ද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ පිටරට මිනිස්සුන්ට නීතියක් නැහැනේ. He was talking about this claim, widely reported in the press, that Ramesh Siva had mentioned in the commission that his client, Mr. Mahendran, is a Singaporean national and doesn't have to give evidence.
Now, for us, under the Commission of Inquiry Act, we both discussed it before. Now you remember, there's a special presidential commission of inquiry. This is not one such commission.
This is for 1948.
This is a commission of inquiry, not a special one.
Yes.
Special one must have 3 Supreme Court judges. These are the names. So this is a commission of inquiry. Now under this, the commission has authority to summon anyone to give evidence. Right? And they can do that under warrant of the commission. Then anyone so summoned is under a duty to give such evidence. Right? And also remember, this particularly excludes even the evidence audience. So not just this, any quasi judicial law or let's for the ease of understanding of your viewers, let's say not a court of law doesn't have to be bound by strict rules of evidence. So this also excludes the evidence ordinance. And also remember, even if it was in a court of law, it doesn't have. We don't necessarily have to limit the evidence to only Sri Lankan national. Now say for example, a Chinese man is caught, no offense to the Chinese, I'm just using it as an example. Say if a Chinese man is caught bringing drugs into this country, he can't go before the magistrate and say, I'm not going to give evidence because I'm a Chinese national. You follow? In that sense, even our diplomatic laws have now those days, you remember the diplomatic protocol. And diplomats, under certified diplomats, couldn't be called to give evidence in domestic court. Now even that international law has changed. No sooner a diplomat transacts with the local jurisdiction, attracting jurisdictional powers. Say for example, a diplomat were to enter a contract with you for your house, and he ransacked it. Or he did some damage to it, even that diplomatic immunity will not apply in that situation. Because he has now attracted your local jurisdiction.
But because previously it wasn't.
Previously the old law was that it was the Prince Albert days and old international law that we studied in university, it wasn't.
What happened to the Burmese ambassador who shot his wife and then...
Burmese ambassador who shot his wife will be subject to the local jurisdiction of that country. So baby, you can't avoid even criminal law.
But he actually cremated his wife in the grounds of what is now the capital.
But you remember the local diplomat's wife who slapped a policeman near Liberty Plaza a few years back?
Oh, no, I don't remember that one.
And then she tried to claim diplomatic immunity. They said, no such nonsense. You can't come to this country and live in the embassy and slap a policeman. She was brought before a court of law.
Good for them.
You follow? So this whole thing of I am not a Sri Lankan. If you are a Sri Lankan national to do the job as governor of the central bank, You can't now come and say, I'm not a Sri Lankan national, therefore I can't give evidence.
I wonder whether this went through his mind when he was high spending his way with the central bank credit card.
No, this country is a sovereign country. Anyone comes and interacts with our country, then I think the Commission has very correctly decided that they have asked him to give evidence.
Yeah.
Of course, we can be courteous in doing that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that only non-nationals we have to be courteous. We have to be courteous to anyone who comes to give evidence.
Exactly.
Even if you and I go, we have to be courteous.
Oh, I should demand
just because he's a Singaporean, he doesn't attract some extraordinary courtesy.
Exactly.
You follow?
Yeah.
So that's it. But then on the other question of...
are they trying to create a new type of nobility above the law?
There is no one above the law. Anyone who comes to this country, transacts with the legal system of this country, is bound by it. If anyone doesn't want to do it, then please don't come and transact with this country.
Exactly.
You can't come and do a job here and then be alleged to have squandered off massive amounts of money, either directly or indirectly, knowingly or unknowingly, and then say, no, I can't give evidence. You follow? If you did that job as head of the bank, please come and give evidence and explain yourself. And that's the stand I take on it. But on the other question, where now the same thing applies to the other man who refused to give evidence. No?
Yeah.
You remember there was a defence run, and then Commission also said that, well, we are not going to force him to give evidence. Now, according to the Commissions of Inquiry Act that we just referred to, everyone can be summoned to give evidence, and in fact, on Section 12, failure to obey summons or give evidence, they can even be, if anyone person whom summons is served fails without cause to come before them or refuses to be sworn or giving evidence, they can be held in contempt of that commission, and that can be dealt with under contempt laws. But now, remember, there is also a rule against self-incrimination. Now, this Act specifically provides for it. Section 13, every person who gives evidence have the privileges of a witness, and under Section 14, if the President's warrant specifies that, they have immunity from subsequent prosecution based on that evidence. From subsequent prosecution based on the evidence. Now, even if this were not so in the Act for us, that's why I'm saying the Commission had made a smart move, in my opinion here. Even if it were not in the Act, the general law says that you can't, there is a rule against self-incrimination.
Indeed.
You can't be asked to give evidence in respect of something that thereafter will be used against you. There are all American TV shows that we watch. You know, you don't have to give it, but anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law. Now, this is that principle. You can't, the man who's prosecuting you can't take evidence from you, then use that against you in the prosecution when they're suing you. So that's a rule against self-incrimination. So that entitles him not to give evidence if he doesn't want. But under the Commission of Inquiry Act, they could have insisted. But I think why they didn't was, one is this rule. Two, remember, if this man were to then take that ruling to a higher court and appeal that. Say, now I didn't want to give evidence, and it's a fundamental of the law, and they made me give evidence. That would have got stuck in an appeal for another 2, 3, 4 years maybe. You follow? They've gone to maybe the Court of Appeal, and then from there to the Supreme Court, and that would have stifled the proceedings of the Commission. But now already they have enough evidence from other people to incriminate this man. So I think this is a very smart move not to stifle this procedure. Okay, you don't want to give evidence? Fine. We have enough to prosecute you anyway. And now they are not even bound to use that evidence in a further prosecution. They can prosecute.
I see.
So I think that's the rationale of this whole evidence thing running across the Commission of Inquiry.
So what possesses a legal team to say that my client is a foreigner and doesn't have to give evidence?
I don't know what rationale would have dictated them to make that application. But I am sure, being a very senior President's Counsel, there would have been some provision of the law under which he would have based his argument. As you know, we are not members of the Commission, we are not privy to what happened. And we are only guided by what he reported. Very little. So there would have been a principle upon which he based that submission, but in my opinion, and I think the Commission has rightly ruled, that no one, once you transact with the jurisdiction of our country, once you get involved in the local law of the country, then thereafter can't take some high ground and say, I can't give evidence.
Then what about Section 16 of the same Act? And there are 3 sort of categories of people who give evidence. Category 1 is somebody who is subject of the inquiry. You're talking about
16 of the Commission Inquiry Act?
Yes, 1948.
That's on representation, it's amended, but it's on representation by an attorney at law.
Right. No, then, you see, category 1, which is if you're named in the order, the President doesn't name anybody in the proclamation. And category 3 is somebody who may wish to appear and can make an application and so on. But then category 2 is any person who is implicated in these proceedings. So isn't Mr. Aloysius implicated in this?
Yeah, he is implicated in the proceedings. Obviously, he is implicated.
Because all the evidence, everybody, the people from the central bank, when you look at their evidence, all sort of points towards their boss, the then governor. If you look at all the perpetual Treasury staff, they all come in and it's all pointing towards their boss. So there are the two bosses there, right? And then we find this situation where one of the bosses, the little boss, that's Arjun, he's not being, he said, well, I don't want to give evidence, right?
And the commission accepted that.
Yes, but then what I'm asking is these two people, as I say, all the people connected are blaming their boss or placing it at their doorstep, okay? But I'd like them to be able to question these two to find out who their bosses are.
But remember, that's why I said earlier that the commission is playing it smart.
Yeah.
Now there's a commissioner inquiry, no?
Yeah.
They can't give any penal sanctions. They can't punish him.
No.
All they can do is ultimately give a report.
Yeah.
Right? Now, as you very correctly said, there are so many other people who are implicating this man.
Yes.
If you go before a court of law that can actually punish him,
Yeah.
bring all his evidence, then put him on the stand,
Yeah.
he is going to have
He has to come on the stand.
then he can't say, I can't give evidence.
Oh, he can't say that.
He can, but then that silence will be held against him.
Okay.
That silence will be held.
So you mean to say
now,
the prosecution,
Yeah.
when the prosecution asks him to come on the stand,
Yeah.
to be cross-examined,
Yeah.
you mean the other side can say, no, I don't want to do that.
Well, I mean, if you don't want to give evidence, you don't have to.
Oh, I see.
But you still have to come on the stand.
Yeah, and say
Because
that you don't want
you see, a court of law, a judge can't get down from the bench and slap you and tell you answer the question. No.
No.
That you asked a question. Say, I failed to answer.
Right.
I refuse to answer. I refuse to answer. Then the law will assume you have been, the fundamental of the law is every man who is charged, upon whom a charge is brought, must be given a chance to explain himself.
Yeah.
Say why he didn't do it.
Yes.
Once he is given that opportunity, if he prefers not to take that opportunity,
Yeah.
then that silence can be held against you.
I
And the
see.
law will assume that your silence means you have nothing to say. That's a presumption. Once given an opportunity, if you haven't explained yourself, of
Yeah.
course subject to the self-incrimination rules that I just spoke of,
Yeah.
if you have been given an opportunity and if you haven't used that opportunity to explain yourself, the law will assume that you have nothing to say.
Indeed.
And if you have nothing to say, we will take that silence and then judge you upon the evidence before us.
Now then, listeners, viewers, you do know that you can send us questions directly right in here, 0772 300 305. And we've got some. And this is a person who wants us to prove that we are not biased. Well, here we go. Lakshman Kiryala, Minister of Highways, Newsline hereby invites you to our program. Please come and answer the questions that you failed to answer at a presidentially ordered press conference or an open debate, as President Sirisena said. Do come, pop by, and on live television, come in on Monday. We've already got a booking, but we can amend that for you. There you go. Now then, if you have any questions, please send them, and we'll be happy to take it on within reason. Now then, so there is no basis, and Mr. Aloysius, you feel, was right in
I don't think he was right. He could have explained himself.
But what I mean is, you feel that Mr. Aloysius's rights have not been impinged on by the Commission.
I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, if at all, they have been protected by the Commission.
Indeed.
He said, I don't want to give evidence. The Commission said, fine.
Good.
You don't want to give evidence, fine.
But it doesn't automatically follow that everybody else will can come and say the same thing.
No, but listen, that's why I say the Commission also is made up of two Supreme Court judges who have not just come and sat there.
Yeah.
Wealth experience there.
Indeed.
They have also been, one has been a trial lawyer in his time, and the other is a very senior commercial high court judge with a commercial background who have gone there.
They both served as judges before, have they?
His Lordship Justice Jayawardena was appointed to the Supreme Court recently, as you know. He was a practitioner from the private bar.
Oh, I see.
But His Lordship Justice Chitrasiri has been in the Supreme Court, Commercial
Is that unusual?
Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court for a long time.
Is the first one, Justice Jayawardena, is it unusual to come from the private bar straight into...
Well, it is another thing that recently I wrote to the press about. In other countries, the bench is made up of both private and public lawyers.
Right.
See? And in fact, in England, there is no such distinction. Because even the Crown Prosecution Service retains private lawyers.
Right.
Now, the chamber I worked for when I was doing a pupil barrister in London, we used to appear a lot for the government.
Right.
So even the prosecution, like here with the Attorney General does it, the prosecution is done by private barristers. You follow? But in this country, the tradition has been that most appointments, higher judicial appointments are done from the Attorney General's department.
Yes.
But I would like, as in much as we respect them who have come from the department, I'd say that His Lordship Justice Jayawardana's appointment and several others, few others from the private bar, have brought a lot of experience of the trial bar of the private practitioners also to the bench. So I think all governments must take equal percentages, both from the private bar and from the Aegis department, when they are making judicial appointments. Because that now we see how wonderful it's working now. There's a private practitioner who has gone to the bench, and there's a judge who has come through the lines from lower courts and who has come up, and that experience is helping.
I don't know if you've actually been, and I find that it's almost a picnic for me personally to go there, because I enjoy it tremendously.
Well, we are in court every day. So.
I see. So I hope you don't forget and appreciate that you're having the time of your life. I was there, and it was wonderful, because these judges, these commissioners, I remember one bit when they said, could you at least make your lies believable?
I saw that report in the press.
It's marvellous. It's absolutely
but
marvelous. But they're also very nice. When Mr. Mahendran was there in his suit, I don't know whether this was the 2 million or 20 million suit. I don't know, okay? Forget that. But he was there, and they noticed that he was perspiring profusely. And they were concerned about that. I mean, he assured them he's all right, and he took a swig of water. But it's all very humane, this thing.
Of course.
And it's lovely.
You find, you say you had a wonderful experience. In those days it is much more, but now, on the rare occasion that we get a good judge like that, an understanding or a witty judge, this dialogue across the bench and the bar between us and the judges, sometimes you'll find it very humorous.
Indeed.
I mean, we make it's almost like a performance in a courtroom. So sometimes we used to quote Shakespeare, and the judge would quick back with another saying. There are times that people feel that it's almost a drama.
Right.
And that's what makes that courtroom environment a very lively one. You follow? And as you're right, we are very fortunate to be in that system.
Indeed, it's nice. I think even... Now then, one of the viewers is saying, is Arjun Aloysius an accused person in this commission?
Is Arjun Aloysius an accused? Well, there are no accused in the commission.
No, there are no.
The commission summons people.
Yes, so the answer is no, he's not. No, he's not. Right. All right, another question.
Putting me on the spot here.
Can you comment on the validity of our currency notes signed by Mr. Mahendran, who claims that he's not subject to our law?
No, I don't think you need to worry about
that. That's
because one has done that under assumed or not under office that the state accepted. So you don't need to worry about your currency notes. Just go and use them.
Just go and use them. And we'll take one more here. Can't the Bond Commission impound the passports of Arjun Aloysius and Mr. Mahendran because they may just fly?
Bond Commission may give such orders as are necessary, but they are governed by the warrant given under the hand of His Excellency the President.
Yes.
So Bond Commissions can't just go impounding passports and all that. If there was such a necessity, the authorities, the police would have to then, that's that. Now if a prosecution had commenced in a court of law, say either before a magistrate or an indictable offence in the High Court, and indictments have been filed, where you, as I said sometime on another show for us, you don't necessarily have to await the Bond Commission report to go and file charges against anyone.
Yes.
So a court of law can impound a passport.
Right.
A court of law has the authority to restrict movement of an individual subject to the conditions of the law. But I dare say that a commission of inquiry without such a specific warrant will go and do that.
I see. I see. But then the police or the Attorney General's department.
Of course, if the prosecution had commenced in a court of law and they bring notice to the judge.
Yeah.
Remember, the judge exercises our judicial power of the people, and if sufficient reason is given to the judge that we have reasonable cause to believe that this person may not come and answer trial, or he will not come to answer question in this court, then a passport can be impounded. But that's under warrant of law. I
see. Okay, so not through the commission. Now then, I think with...
I'm not saying that the commission can't, but right now I don't think I haven't seen the warrant given to the commission. I don't think that's specified anywhere in the warrant. Under the general laws that empower the commission, if they didn't insist on this man giving evidence, I don't think they are going to go beyond and risk issuing such orders, particularly because that will also be subject to then another appeal, and this whole thing will get dragged.
Indeed. The questions are coming in thick and fast.
They're popular for us. They're watching you.
They're watching. The one viewer says the only way to check that out for Arjun should try to travel overseas. Well, I think Arjun has been going overseas regularly and coming back.
You know that person, do you?
And somebody else is saying, when will the commission come to an end?
I think there was a time extended once. The period was extended. I think the original warrant expired and the period was extended. I dare say it will be very soon, because I don't think they can go on extending. I'm sure the report will come soon.
This one I must read out anyway. By the way, I haven't left anything out, okay? TV1 is spot on in exposing corruption anyway. When last regime was bulldozing the affairs of the nation, silence focusing now only on the Prime Minister and his government, leading us to think that you are biased. Well, that's absolute rubbish. We're not biased, and our reporting has been in the public interest, and we challenge anyone to prove us otherwise. Every report that's come out from here, from this studio, and on our radio as well, is backed up by proof that will stand up in any court of law. Not perhaps in a kangaroo court, but in any court of law. And if it wasn't for the media, I keep saying this again and again and again, if it wasn't for the activities of public interest activists and the media exposure, believe me, Arjun Mahendran would still be the governor of the
May I add 1 minute to that?
Please.
Whoever that viewer is, I'm saying, when long time ago, almost 350 years ago, when the American state was built from the old colony, Dr. Benjamin Franklin, one of the framers of the original Declaration of Independence, who declared a republic, when they came out after drafting the first constitution, a lady walked by and said, "So, doctor, what sort of constitution has you given us?" Now, they were used to a colony and a king. Have you made a monarchy? Said, "Madam, I have made yourselves a republic if you can keep it."
Right.
Now, what he meant was this: we have also made ourselves a republic. I am encouraging more people to do what this station is doing, more people to do what the public activists are doing, and keep your republic alive. Because the republic is made out of the people's power, not of anyone. We think that there are rulers ruling us. There is no one ruling us. It's our sovereign power. I keep saying this every day. So just like Benjamin Franklin told that lady, I'm telling your viewers, we have been given a republic. We have got ours as a republic. If we can keep it, we have to do more to keep that republic. Our power.
Do you know, I don't know if you've been following the bond proceedings, and we've been unable to discuss this, the provincial things, but we've only got 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but that's also a hell of a how do you do, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised just now. We went to the Supreme Court, and all of us argued over 3 days. Their lordships heard us over 3 days. Their lordships are kind enough to consider our written submissions over weekends. And we all went through the 20th Amendment bill, and their lordships of the Supreme Court found, as a judicial power of the people, that what the legislature was trying to do was an encroachment upon franchise and sovereignty of the people. That you couldn't curtail the period of provincial councils or extend them. And the Supreme Court gave a ruling on that. Then, having kept that 20th Amendment aside, what they tried to do, because the Supreme Court said unlawful, they're keeping aside, by another piece of legislation, the Provincial Council Business Amendment, they are trying to do the same thing, saying they are putting it on this female representation of 50% or whatever, and they need to amend it that way, and then and then try to prolong it that way. But the rationale, as I said, once again, the Republic, The rationale was that the Supreme Court, their lordship said that any curtailment of office of a provincial council or trying to further the time that the people have elected them for was unconstitutional.
Right.
You're encroaching upon the sovereignty and franchise of the people.
Right.
So then there is no point in the legislative arm of the government going and trying to do the same thing through another piece of legislation. No.
Right.
The entire exercise is lost. No.
Absolutely.
And who are you trying to hoodwink?
Indeed. I think this will have to be the subject of a debate on a longer program, and perhaps Face the Nation, which TV1 broadcasts live on Monday evenings, straight after the news, 9:30. Let's see if we can put forward this
and
matter.
If any of your viewers are in Kandy, we're having a live discussion on Sunday at the Devon Hotel on the Constitution.
Oh, good.
Mr. Vyangoda and who's the gentleman who, the head of the committee who went around asking questions of the people, senior lawyer, Mr. Vijay.
Yes.
Mr. Vijay Nayak, the head of that committee, and us, we have the Devon Hotel, we're discussing the Constitution on Sunday evening in Kandy. So if any of you are there, do drop in.
Somebody is commenting, saying that you are dressed very grandly.
I had to go to court after this.
But you also dressed. I thought you were going to say you dressed grandly to be on this program.
Well, I did, but I had to go to court after this.
Right. I'm not going to say this. The last bit. Somebody's saying somebody is obviously taking the mickey out of what Mr. Kirial alluded to yesterday or the day before. And this viewer is saying, when I go to Kataragama, the gods keep on asking me, when are we completing the expressway to Kataragama?
But the Kataragama was also locked up. So the gods can't answer the question.
Right.
Remember, they locked up Kataragama some time back.
Oh, yes.
There was a dispute and they locked the doors.
Goodness me.
And ran away with the key.
Anyway, now then, we must keep matters in perspective. Keep your questions coming. We are very grateful for you to ask these questions, and because it drives the program. Krishmal Banasuri, absolutely wonderful, and I hope you have a grand day in court.
Faraz Shaukat Ali, good to be.
Thank you very much. And that's about it, folks, from Newsline. Take care, and God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline with